years ago, I had moved in with my partner, and we nested, and I gained a little bit of weight. Actually, it's a lot of weight. Oh, we kicked. And I was like, oh, I really have to lose this weight. So I tell all my friends, they're like, oh, I need to lose this, and they're like, you know, exercise, good food. I'm like, you know what, screw that. I'm gonna get a colonic, because everyone's getting these. I was like, I read Sharon Stone gets them, so I was like, you know, look, I'm gonna get one. So I go online, and I don't ask anyone if they know any, so I just go online, and I find one on the Upper East Side, and I'm like, perfect. I live here in Brooklyn Heights. I don't know anyone up there, so I go up there, and first red flag is that I find a building, and it's like an old building. It's not an office building. And down on the main floor of this building is a butcher shop. And I'm like, should I be getting a colonic above raw meat? Like, it seems very weird. But I'm like, I'm already here. So I open up the door, and there's a staircase that's very dark, and it's slanted. It's like the staircase off of Precious. You know, I have uniques at the bottom throwing a shoe up at me, and I'm like, ah! So I ring the doorbell, and this woman answers, and it's her apartment. It's not an office. It's her apartment. And I go in there, and then on the couch is this girl, like Lolita, and she's 12 years old maybe, and she's wearing like a tube top and biker pants, and she's like, and the woman's talking in very hushed tones, like, don't wake the baby. And I'm like, okay. So she goes, go into this other room. And I said, okay. So I go to this room, and the room was very dark, and it didn't have any windows, and it was painted Pepto-Bismol pink. And I go in there, I'm like, this is weird. And there's a table, like when you go into the doctor's office, how they have the table with the white piece of paper. So it's kind of like a doctor's office, only not. So I go in there, and she's like, take off your pants and your underwear. And I don't even question it. I'm like, sounds great. So I get on the table. I'm Porky Piggying it, by the way. I don't have anything on here. And she walks over to me, and she has her tube of water, you know, with this machine with the knobs and stuff. And she walks over to me, and she's like, so this is going to hurt, you know, like you haven't had one before. And I'm like, listen, lady, I go, I'm gay, so this isn't quite my first time at the rodeo, you know. And she's like, and so she inserts it in me, and she turns on the water. And let me tell you something, if you haven't had one, it's no walk in the park. Like, the water starts going, and it's very unsettling, and it's kind of spooky, and I may have seen God. So, and it's one tube. So the water that's going in me is the same water that's going out of me. Which I don't think is right, but anyways, get there. Like, this is the wrong time to, you know, like, ask if this is right. So she's doing it for like maybe 10 minutes or so, and she's like, I have to go. And it's like when you're at a restaurant and you can't get the attention, you're like, miss this. And that's how I was like, oh, okay. And before she left, she says to me, now, put the tube under your foot and regulate the pressure. And I'm like, oh, okay. I never had one before, so I'm like, okay. So I'm now giving myself an enema or a clotting. I don't know the terms, I'm not a doctor, but I'm doing it to myself. And this is like 10 minutes. Like, she's gone for 10 minutes. And my foot's, like, I'm starting to cramp up. Because I'm so paranoid that the tube's gonna, like, my own filth is on her pink balls. I'm like paranoid, and I'm like so tense. So she finally comes back in there, and I swear to God, her eyes are red. She's like smoking pot with her daughter. And she's like, oh, interesting, you know, and because it's very science fiction. Because I'm like totally nude with this tube. And she comes over to me, and she takes the tube out, and she's holding my leg, going like, oh, you eat a lot of bread. I'm like, how do you do that? So I just want to go, right? So she's like, okay, so get off the thing and go to her bathroom, you know, get rid of the water that's in me. And I'm like, okay, so totally nude, and you know, and I get off the thing, and the white paper is stuck in me. So I like get off, and it's trailing behind, and it's, you know, like a party, and I like stop and look at her. I'm like, is this right? And she's like, just go. So I go to the restroom, and I get rid of the water. Okay, you know what I mean. And I'm like, I just want to go home. I just want to take a hot shower, like a Silkwood shower, you know. I just want to go to bed. And I'm like, how can this get worse? And then I go out there, and she's like, that's going to be $150. And is this good? Is this bad? I've never had one. And then when I tell my friends this, they're like, oh, I should have talked her down. And, like, for $150. And I was like, how am I supposed to do that? Like, how about I give you 80 and I don't call the cops on what just happened in your pink dungeon? I'm 80. So I'm like, I'm just going to pay it, you know, it's done. So I have to say, though, when I was on the subway going home, and I sat there with my very clean colon at this point, it dawned on me that maybe for the first time in a very long time, I wasn't as full of shit as my friends would like to think.